My name is Jack Samson Ebere, and I'll be answering three interview questions in this video. It is for a lead front-end developer position. Question is, what was your most memorable project? Why was it your most memorable project? And what did you learn from it? So this is one question. So I'll take them as 1A, 1B, and 1C. So for 1A, what is my most memorable project? That would be Oma Kitchen. Oma Kitchen is a product that I was part of. I was part of the team that built it from scratch up to finish. The product was focused or is focused on helping users to live healthily, so users could schedule their meals for as long as they want. It could be for a month, it could be for a whole year, and get that meal delivered at the right time that they want it. Users could ask for or prescribe a particular recipe in case they are maybe new to the area they came to, or they've come to, and that meal will be prepared just as they prescribed it on the recipe. Now, users could even sell the recipe if it's something that people will really love. They could sell the recipe for a particular cost, a particular amount, depending on the agreement with the restaurant. So basically, that product automates everything that is done in a restaurant. So I really love the project. Now, why do I love this project? The first reason why I love this project is that I was a founding engineer for the project. So it means I was everywhere in the project. I was part of the planning phase, the engineering phase, the business aspect. So it made me, it exposed me to all part of the project that we're building and until it came to life. Now, the second reason why I love this project is that it matches my vision, my mission in life, and that is helping people. The product was all about helping people to live healthily and happily. So you can focus on work while the product focuses on delivering the best user experience when it comes to feeding and living better. The third reason why I love this project is that it's exposed me to working with people of different backgrounds. So, not necessarily engineering. I had to talk with people like the project managers. I had to speak with customers. I had to talk with people that are not technical at all. So it's really widened my horizon and saw things from different perspective. Then finally, why I love this project is it's helped me see what it takes to build a product from start to finish, and how to communicate with people, how to manage people, how to settle conflict, basically in all the project life cycle. So different project life cycle with different challenges, but I saw it through until they finish. So this is why it's my memorable project. Now, what did I learn from this? Three basic things. One, it was a startup, so everything was fast paced and not very organized, because we're starting and ideas were coming and going. Nothing was clearly stated, so it helped me see how to work in a fast paced environment with tight budget and plenty deadlines. It also helped me to see how we could communicate and manage conflicts even though we had different backgrounds. Another thing I learned is how to break up complex projects into smaller bits and then work according to priorities in order to achieve the total project, the complex project that we're working on, and everything came out well. It's been doing thousands of users monthly up until now. All right, the second question is, how do you imagine the perfect working synergy with product management? So for me, I picture an environment where product management and engineering are transparent, departments or transparent people where everybody's open to ideas, where everybody communicates ideas. So more like nobody is afraid to talk because they fear on healthy criticism from the other person, and nobody is making the other person feel like, let me just do this job and go home. So instead they are giving each other reasons why a certain task should be done or not be done. So say for example the product management wants a particular feature to be added, it would be nice to tell the engineering team that we want this feature to be added and this is why it is necessary. And if the engineering team maybe has questions, they ask questions and maybe explain why this feature might not be the best at the time. And the communication should just be to and fro. And if the product management can convince the engineering team, then they should execute this project. And basically everybody should be looking out for what is good for the company and not what's good for themselves, sort of. So that's the perfect working synergy I look for, or I picture. In all, I'm saying for product management and engineering to work perfectly, they need to be open to communication and need to show empathy when communicating and interacting with each other. Yeah. The third question I will be answering is on technical problem. What was the most technical problem I have ever encountered? Who were those involved? What were the technologies? What challenges I faced? And how I was able to overcome the challenge. So the first in this third question is what technical problem was the most complex or most difficult problem I have had to face. And I would say it, that would be rendering data on a custom calendar. So what this involved is for me to give the users the best of experience, I needed to not just list out data for them, but I needed to give them a better picture of what their data looked like on a day-to-day basis. So this required that I create some sort of calendar, then feed in each of these days on this calendar with the request of the user. So a user could just come and look at the calendar and see where his request is and what is his next request, sort of. So just imagine a calendar with different meeting times on it, how you can picture it. So in this one you'll be picturing your meal requests. So and this was also in Oma Kitchen. So what technologies were involved? That would be JavaScript, React, and Node.js. Yeah, and those involved include the project manager because they are of course the one who proposed the change, the business developers, and the founder was also involved, who was not a very technical person too. Now, what were the challenges I faced? One of the challenges was not knowing why this update was important, because we just rolled out this feature a few days back, and then all of a sudden the project managers, the business developers are coming to me along with the founder and saying that this feature really needs to be changed completely. It was almost not an update. It was like I was creating a totally new feature. Everything was different from what I've built. So I didn't know why this was necessary because we just rolled it out. It was working perfectly. And so this was one of the challenges for me. Then the second challenge was that the data being returned from the back end didn't suit what I needed for the front end. So this made it even more difficult to solve the problem or render the data. The third challenge was writing code to automate users' processes. So this required writing a lot of algorithms. So it's not like I wasn't writing algorithm before this time, but this was more complex. There were so many working features on it, and a lot of things had to be automated. So this created some sort of challenge too. And then last is the short deadline. So this feature was just rolled out. It's been a feature that users were waiting for. It was just rolled out, and now we're making a change, and we had to make this change in a very short time so that the users almost do not notice maybe the backlog or the drawbacks from the first feature that was rolled out. Yeah. All right. Now, how I overcame these challenges that I was presented to me or I faced. So the first thing is I had to talk to the product managers, the business developers, and the founder. I had to tell them my concern. We just rolled out this feature. I'm not sure this is supposed to be what we should be working next. Moreover, this feature is working perfectly, and I'm looking at it. So we had that discussion, and they explained to me, especially from the user's perspective. I haven't seen the feedback from the users at the moment. I was still trying to make some more releases before looking at users' feedback. And so they showed me the users' feedback and told me why it was necessary. So it turned out it was taking the users more than the usual time necessary to schedule their meal. So you can imagine somebody who wants to schedule meal for a whole month, scheduling the meals for every month day by day, and every day you have to schedule time by time. So you schedule for morning time, you schedule for afternoon time, and you schedule for evening time. Now this was very rigorous, so you can imagine taking 3 times 30, so that's more like 90 times entering data into the system. So this was too much, and honestly I understood this after having this discussion with them. Now, the second thing I did to overcome my problem was to restructure the data I was getting from the backend. So what this means is I fetch data. I wrote some sort of script or algorithm that helped me add keys to these data. And after adding keys to the data, it became in such a way that I could fit it into different times of the on the calendar. Then the third one was writing scripts to automate most of the processes of the users. Um, we wanted the users to not feel like it takes big work to use the system or schedule their meals. So I had to make sure that as many things as possible that could be automated, I wrote a script that would automate them so that once a user makes certain click on a button, it could do 10 things. So instead of clicking 10 buttons, you click one button to do what 10 buttons would do. And then finally, I had the issue of deadline. So I had a full week to, not a full week, sorry, a 5 days deadline. So this was a bit of a challenge because everything was coming in new, not because I've not written algorithms before, but because I was trying to understand exactly how this would be executed and how the users would get the best user experience, how to write the algorithms that would be seamless and not overlap each other. But it was great because it gave me a broader perspective of thinking, different ways of understanding state management, and how I could manage states for a user while they're interacting with the UI without submitting data for a very, very long time. And so at the end, I was able to break down the problems that this feature presented into smaller bits and solve them bit by bit. So as I solved them bit by bit, I was finishing up the problem gradually, and before you knew, all parts of this feature was fitting together and it was working perfectly. And that was done in 3 days, and not even in the 5 days deadline that I was kind of afraid of. I don't like, I'm not a fan of reaching of not being on time. I love being on time basically. So when I saw the deadline and I saw the future, it looked massive. But at the end, after breaking down everything in bits and working bit by bit, I was able to get this out in 3 days. And I saw the real good of this feature because this feature reduced the time that the users used by 90%. So they didn't have to, like I said, click 10 buttons to add one thing. They had to just click one button and the features of 10 buttons will be executed. This also gave the company a 50% rise in customer retention that very month. So it was really great communicating with the people involved, the stakeholders, and helping me see things from the right perspective. And that was also a good a good push for me to execute that project in the shortest period of time so that we don't lose any more people to that feature. So that would be my most complex project, or one of the most complex project, and that was how I solved the problem. So thank you very much for listening.